Can y'all hear me?
My bad. I was away.
I just put you as the host, just in case. I just stopped at the I'm at the co-op right now. Just talked to Gary. He won't be going on the call. I guess somebody resigned.
Wow.
And then he has to do some stuff. So Katie's gonna be on it. And it's just gonna be Katie. Can you take it off a record?
Stop recording or pause recording?
Yeah, pause recording.
Okay. Awesome. Do you want to get started?
Sure. It just hit 12 o'clock. So thank you again for joining us today for our GEL virtual series, our November series for this month, which has three different opportunities where you can check out our programs that we virtually take you to different places, Tucson and all over the world as well. My name is Dan Sayapon, and I'm the director of GEL, which is Global Experiential Learning. We try to integrate travel, multicultural education, and service learning to provide all students at the U of A inclusive and diverse opportunities and programming throughout not only Tucson, but throughout the world as well. Today, we have the pleasure of looking in our backyards here at the within the TO Nation and the San Xavier Co-op mission. And this is part of our Cats in the Community series where usually we're doing service learning projects throughout the world. We want to bring that back here and give you opportunities that you can see in Tucson where you can volunteer that isn't always highlighted the most here in Tucson. Like we said before, we're highlighting Native American Heritage Month. So all three of our sessions this month are highlighting different indigenous communities, not only in Tucson, but also we have one in Hawaii on Thursday, and we'll talk about that more at the end of this session. So I'm gonna turn it over to my team, Giselle and Leslie, to talk a little bit more about what this session's going to entail.
Hello, my name is Leslie. I'm a senior at the University of Arizona with a major in speech, language, and hearing sciences, and I'm part of the community team with my partner, Giselle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Giselle Dalcid. I'm a PhD student in the Educational Leadership and Policy program here in the College of Education, and I'm the student lead for our community team. And so on behalf of JAL, we recognize the lands that we are currently residing on, and which are the Tohono O'odham and Pasco Yaqui peoples. Therefore, we would like to take this opportunity to conduct a land acknowledgement that the University of Arizona sits on the original homelands of Indigenous peoples who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. Aligning with the university's core value of diverse and inclusive community, it is an institutional responsibility to recognize and acknowledge the people, culture, and history that make up the Wildcat community. At the institutional level, it is important to be proactive in broadening awareness throughout campus to ensure our students feel represented and valued. And so before we get started, I would like to remind the audience that if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A box below. We will be getting to those questions right after, kind of towards the end of our presentation. And so now I will move into introducing our guest, Katie Hilbert, who is the marketing and sales coordinator of the farm. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it. And so I will pass it over to you now.
Thank you so much for having us and taking the time to come to the farm and letting us share a little bit about our history and story and mission and all that good stuff. So I guess we'll start with the history, where it begins. So we have been at the farm, they've been farming in that same area for thousands of years. And it is said that that is the oldest place of continuous agriculture in the United States. So up to even 4,000 years ago, the same people have been farming the same crops on the same land for thousands of years. And that is mainly in part to the water source that is the Santa Cruz River there. So it flowed steady and provided plenty of irrigation water for thousands of years, up until the groundwater was pretty much pumped dry. A handful of decades ago, the Santa Cruz River went dry, maybe only filled up like a lot of the washes around here during a rainstorm. So it didn't really provide water for farming at that time. However, the government acknowledged that the development in the area through the city of Tucson and beyond kind of sucked the groundwater dry. So as a park or whatever, the farm was able to get plenty of water from the CAP, which is the Central Arizona Project. So that is where we get the irrigation water from now, which was originally just always steady supply from the Santa Cruz. So pretty interesting to be in the same place for that long, farming the same crops adapted to this very unique desert that we live in. So that's that. So the mission at the farm is manyfold. It is about the land, of course. We're not certified organic, as it is quite expensive to do that. We are certified naturally grown, meaning we don't use any pesticides or herbicides or any harmful chemicals on any of the crops. And we really try to work in relationship with the plants and animals and the land as it is there. Also, it's toward the culture and the people there, of course. So maintaining the cultural traditions that have been there. So of course, maintaining those same crops that have been grown for thousands of years and are really only grown in this unique desert Southwest environment. Also the foods that are prepared there, you'll see later when we tour a little bit what they're doing, what the catering staff is doing in the kitchen to cook some of the foods that are grown here. And then also economically support the community as well. We have a buyback program. So during the seasons, different wild foods become ripe. So what we do is we offer educational workshops to the community to come learn how to harvest, how to clean, and then for themselves, how to prepare some of the foods. In that, after they take the workshop, they're certified to be able to sell it back to the farm. So again, that's a manyfold. That's passing the education and the knowledge along, the food traditions, the health of the food, and then also providing an economic incentive for people to do so. So whether it is as an individual on your own or with your children, with your grandparents or friends and family, people can go out and harvest some of the wild foods that grow in the area, and then we pay them by the pound to bring it in for us. And then on the farm, the food production staff and food processing staff cleans, processes, dries, mills, whatever it needs to be, and it's always many, many steps. The desert foods aren't easy with all the spines and everything, so it's quite a process to get those. So again, the threefold, mainly the sustainability of the land and the earth, of the people and the culture and the knowledge, and then also the economic sustainability in the area as well. So that's the mission there at the farm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. I'm going to now stop sharing my screen. And so that way, Katie will now introduce us into our interactive piece where she will be touring the farm virtually. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Okay, thank you. Let's share this one. Okay, we good?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, perfect. So this little opening screen has in more detail and very specific the mission of the farm. So you'll see as it's outlined here. But some of the things that they do go into detail on more respect for the land, the elders, the animals, the plants, and the sacredness of the water, which is really important being in the desert. So let's go first. We're gonna start in the kitchen. Like I mentioned, we're gonna take a look at the catering department and see what we're doing there. So we have a nice sized kitchen here. You'll see off to the side, we have a conference room, which before the pandemic, we were renting out. We host events there, individuals, or you can rent it for your business. But in general, what we're working on now, what the kitchen crew is working on is just even more furthering their own knowledge about how to incorporate the foods that are grown on the farm, and then also the wild harvested foods that I mentioned, into all the things that they cook. So right now, we are doing some free meal giveaways. So we'll always incorporate the farm products into those meals. You'll see that's Mariah, the kitchen assistant. So she has some specialties. There's like the empanadas are really good. These are probably squash. And we do grow different squashes on the farm. We also had apple empanadas during the summer when they were in season, just different things, but they always incorporate the farm products. So whether that be a traditional meal, there's tons of soups and stews that are using some of the products. You'll see when we go to the store, we have the tepary beans, which is just this very small desert adapted bean grown, that can grow with very little water. And they make a delicious tepary bean brownie with that. You'll see the ones on the plates there. And then also they do, so the grab and goes are the free meal giveaways that the kitchen does every other week. And also they'll have regular food sales. So they're always working at baked goods. Like I said, the traditional things like the yeast bread, which is like traditional roll, and then also the jemmet, which is tortillas made over the fire. So that's the kitchen. We're gonna take a little walk outside. Right behind the kitchen here is kind of an extension of the kitchen, because even though they have two nice big ovens, a huge stove, and all this facilities, a lot of the cooking is done outside using the mesquite wood as fire. So the jemmet or the tortillas are made on the fire. It gives a really nice flavor to things, or big pots of soup. So just panning through. So this is the community garden space. It's just a really nice area. It's all shaded for gathering and sharing knowledge. This is where we host a lot of the portions of the workshops. Again, before the pandemic, we did more workshop opportunities were offered there. But you'll see it's kind of a mesquite grove. So all the trees that you see here, along with the shade, they also have those tan colored pods that hang down, sometimes even twice a year, but mainly in the summer is their main season. And those are harvested and ground into flour. You'll also see, of course, some produce that's grown in there. There's some native plants. What you're looking at right here, the brightest green in the center is tobacco. So there's some other herbal and medicinal plants as well. And the community can just come, make it their own, plant, and then harvest as they would. We kind of maintain the space, and then the kitchen uses produce out of there. There's other herbs like mint, and there's sage for burning. But yeah, so let's start with the ovens. Another place for cooking, these two ovens here, these earth ovens. So they are rarely used. It's not as practical, but it is a nice thing to be able to do once in a while. And they're beautiful. They're a beautiful piece to the garden. Take a little walk over here. So here you'll see a mural, almost completed, but well on its way. This is a mural of a TO superhero, which just adds so much nice color to the garden. It was done by a community member, Her name is Elena Pierce. She's very active in the arts community in Tucson. She does other street art with other organizations and on her own. You'll see when we go to the store, she has art prints and stickers, magnets and things like that. She does beautiful work, but it's just a really nice piece for the garden, and she made it unique for us at the farm with the woman holding corn in the basket, which is one of the staple foods here. One of the three sisters, if you guys have heard of that, the three sisters are the corn, the beans, like I had mentioned earlier, and the squash, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We grow that too. So nice addition to the community garden space. And another way that we're so lucky to be able to have the community involved in participating in the space to make it beautiful. We're heading over here. So a couple plants of note here are the native plants that we get. So for example, you'll see these are Toys onions. So if you go to the grocery store and you buy a bunch of green onions, it's very similar. These little guys sprout up, but they are unique in that, in a number of ways. So one, you can almost harvest them all year. It's not a crop that you plant, you harvest, and then you're done. Like a bulb, like a tulip bulb that kind of grows and multiplies underground. These will do the same thing and just keep bulbing and expanding out. So you can continuously, steadily, and slowly harvest them and have a source of onions all year round, which is beautiful. They're native, it's a native plant. They are called Toys onions because it is said that they were found at the base of the mountain where Toy, or the creator, lives, and that is Babakiberi Mountain. So they are native, and you will see, if you pay attention, when you're out hiking, you may run across some of these same onions. We just have them cultivated here for a little more. Also behind that, the plant in the middle, kind of like a shrubbery looking guy, we have some of the chiltepine peppers, which are super cool. They're little guys, they're about the size of a pea. So if you're used to going to the grocery and getting hot peppers like jalapenos, like a medium-sized one, or poblanos, they're good-sized peppers. These guys, like the size of a pea, they're dried, but they pack quite a punch. So again, just like the onions, they're a native plant, and many, many, many varieties of peppers have been bred out of that one original strain of pepper, which is really unique. So we have those growing there as well. So that's the community garden space. Before, and hopefully soon, we will have some more events again. We had some artisan markets where we had music and food and all sorts of different artisans selling goods. And this is where we would have it, in the shade of the garden and the kids playing and everything. It's a nice space for events. So moving on, we're gonna stop at the store, which is most people's first and only interaction. If you have never been to the farm, you're always welcome to come and stop by the store when we're open. Right now it's Tuesday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 8 to 1. So this would be what you would encounter first when you get to the farm, because we're open. But we'll pause here since we're here. These are some of the prints that Elena Pierce had done, the artist who did the mural in the garden. So we have those on display and for sale in there. We also have other wild foods, like I had mentioned. If you're familiar with the big saguaro cactus, here are some canned goods from the fruit that's on top. Usually early summer it comes. It's called Bij Dutch in autumn. And it is a very, very sweet, thick syrup here. And then on the left, they also make a jam The little jars with the gold lids are seeds, and those are traditionally eaten as breakfast, just the seeds, like a porridge or something. But we also incorporate them into baked goods here, like poppy seeds with a crunch. So we can make a dressing as well. So you'll see in the store, of course, we're going to carry the farm goods, the dried goods, but we also, again, try to involve the community as much as possible and have a space for people to showcase their work, because there are so many talented people. So just click on a few of the pictures and take a look. So we have Adrian Morrow here is a local artist, and you can see his influenced work with like his own twist on it. The man in the maze, the dancers, and then the women with the sticks are Dobka players that are playing sport. So just really nice t-shirts. Let's see if we can see in the jewelry case. There's a few women that we work with who make baskets, really, really nice basketry. And of course, it's using the native plants that are around here. Some of the plants we do sell in the nursery, which you'll see outside there. And of course, we have beadwork. Let's see if we can zoom in on that. There's jewelry and earrings. There's a little bit of beadwork. So these are really cute for kind of Christmas ornaments. You can see all the different shapes, and these little guys are gourds, and the artist paints them and then does her beadwork around them as decoration. So really cute. Let's see. There's one shelf of the dried goods. So not only do we carry our own products, but there are other people in the Tucson area and also Arizona and beyond, of course, who use some of our unique products. We're one of only a handful of people, if maybe the only one currently, who actually sells mesquite flower, those pods that were hanging from the trees. And if you're familiar with the company Monsoon Chocolate in Tucson, they have won a silver award internationally for their chocolate using our mesquite flower. So we sell their chocolate in there and a few other varieties of their chocolate. And then you can see these trail mix bars. It's called Huppy Bar. She's out of Flagstaff and she uses our mesquite flower as well. It's the official bar of the Arizona Trail, which is pretty cool. So it's really, we just try to collaborate with whomever and partner with, you know, keep it local. So this ball over here, you see on the left, those jars of Golden Delight, that is our raw honey. It's some people's favorite. It's really thick and spreadable. The raw honey is better, it's really good for you. It helps with allergies and it has all sorts of probiotics and things in it. You'll see the flour, that big bags of flour, and then some of the smaller ones, we grow a lot of wheat. So it was only introduced about 4 or a handful of hundreds of years ago. Don't quote me on exactly when, but with the Spanish, the white Sonora wheat specifically was supposed to have been the first wheat introduced into the United States. Before it was introduced, there was no wheat in this country. So that is the original one. And that is what brought on the making of the tortillas that are traditional, the jeme. So the women use our white Sonora wheat flour in the tortillas. Some nice woven bags, another artist who comes often. So we have some nice gifts. Let's pan over here. So all the little green jars and bags, that is the cholla cactus. It's called chiotum. And like I said, in the spring, it gets those little buds. They have to take all of the spines off of every little bud. It's quite a process, and for probably about a month's time during the whole harvest season, people just go home with spines in them and they just get worked out. You know, your skin kind of pushes them out, but it's not the most pleasant job. And then they're dried, they're laid on big screens and dried so that they can be reconstituted. Like a bean, you would boil it and then eat it like a vegetable. So they'll put them in eggs, tamales, all sorts of things. They have an asparagus kind of artichoke flavor. So it's just a way that the food could be preserved into the winter. You can eat them fresh, of course, but for the long run, it's nice. So that's some of our wild harvested food. See the other. That's about it for the store. You'll just have to come see, like I said, you're welcome to come see all the goods here. You can see there's other artwork on the walls, other bags and things. Right now we have garlic out of the field. We have some dried squash in this bin. Traditionally, it's either cooked immediately or to preserve it again for the winter. It's dried and hung in strips on the trees. So and we have some books over here and all sorts of things. So that's the store. So right outside of the store, we have a big parking lot. That building you see in the back is where the kitchen is, where we first were, some of the offices. But right now we're standing under the Watto with a little extra shade covering. The catering staff does food sales out here. So you'll see all the plants. We have a small nursery. Those are for sale as well. We have vegetable starts, native plants, fruit trees, other things. But this is a traditional ramada type of structure. And it's made of the mesquite posts and then the ocotillo roof. And I think it was last year, but we had a little bit of rain and the roof was starting to re-sprout and regrow. I think it's gone down since then, but you can see some of the plant starts we have. These are artichokes. And then also if you look past the Watto and the chain link fence there, that white building, if you're familiar, is the Mission Church, which is always a nice backdrop, and that hill that's right there. This is Swiss chard. It's a green, similar to kale. We also have some kale right now. Just your winter vegetables. And so that red building that you see is the front of the store. So that's where you would go in. Again, we really miss doing events. Last year, we had a movie screening with the Loft. They set up their screen right here. We put out hay bales for seating. And then the backdrop was the Mission, and they showed a movie. We had some food for sale. It was really nice. So we can't wait to start doing those kinds of fun events again. But we'll post all that stuff on Facebook. So that's basically the Ramada, but it gives you an idea of the outside, larger area here. So the farm is 8,000 acres, which is kind of hard to wrap your head around the size, but it's quite large. And mainly our cash crop is hay. So this field that you're standing in right now, virtually, is or was just planted in hay. So you'll see the little green sprouts coming up and the rows that were kind of planted in like that. They went out to the middle of the field to take this nice shot. So you kind of can get a view. So this is just one of many, many of our fields. Just a handful of acres here. Give you an idea of the scope of what we're working with. Like I said, most of it's hay, so it's done with big machinery, and it for now it supports the farm. In the future, we would like to be able to do more of the food crops and have to rely less on the hay for our sustainability financially. But that's working for now. We've also looked into some other things besides just the hay, such as hemp, some other types of cash crops. So I think that will wrap up the tour for now. If you want to move on to the next portion, or anyone has any questions.
Awesome. So I will, okay, so if you can stop sharing yours.
Okay.
That way I can share mine. Let's see. Great. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for that. So now we are gonna have some questions prepared for you. And so the first question I will be asking, and then Leslie will follow. So the first question is, how do you engage the local community to come out and participate on the farm?
Sure. Thanks for asking. It's really wonderful when people are enthused to come out and learn and share some time with us there. In the past, more so, we've worked with different groups at the U of A a lot, and so we'll have community volunteering days. We can also, if you would like to become a regular volunteer and make it once a week, every other week, or whatever time you can give, we have, we're open to whenever we're there, then volunteers can be there in essence. We temporarily kind of put a little hold on it with the pandemic. So I would say for now, send us the email. You can go to our website, and our general email is our the farm's abbreviation, SXCA@sanxaviercoop.org. Send us the email with your interest, and then we can put you on a list to get in touch on how to find a best fit. So of course, in the community garden space is probably the first go-to that people would want to be involved in or interested, but there are all sorts of opportunities. We've had a garlic harvest day, and there, everybody from all the farm crew to volunteers is out, and it really makes quick work of a big job, which is really nice. We have the nursery, which you see all the little plants, which is a different thing there. I mean, anything that would spark your interest, we would be open to, working to try to find a fit for people. So I think the best way at this point is to just email. You can call us as well, and then we'll patch you through to the right person so that we can hook it up. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. The second question is, what are some of the challenges the farm is currently facing with COVID-19 as a disruption to personal routines?
Thank you for asking. As everyone has felt this year, nothing is quite normal. So we've really had to think quickly on our feet and adapt to some new ways of continuing to operate. Due to the pandemic, like I said, we haven't been able to have regular events, which brought a lot of people in. We haven't been able to have even our regular sales of the food products because restaurants haven't been buying since they're not open. One of our biggest supporters were the casinos, and since they're not operating really in full, we haven't been selling to them. However, it has been really, really wonderful to be able to be part of the COVID relief efforts. So we got a few grants, and like I briefly mentioned, the kitchen is just pumping out meals. So every other Wednesday for lunchtime, anyone is welcome. Community, anyone in Tucson to come by. It starts at 10, so that the closest one is tomorrow. We're having one tomorrow. So the kitchen will cook as much food as possible, essentially up to a certain point within reason. And then it's a drive-through. So people can stay in their cars for safety. The meals will be prepackaged to the amount that you want. It's a to-go thing. And then they kind of just roll through and we ask how many do you want, and we hand them out. So we've really been blessed to be able to participate in giving back. That's kind of part of the farm's mission too, is to be able to give back as a whole to the community. So through some of those grants, we've been able to do that. In other areas, it's really kind of given us a chance to focus on operations on the farm, as opposed to, we did a lot of events and participated in a lot of, you know, Tucson has all sorts of like educational fairs and festivals and things. So that's really actually given us the time to focus on grounding ourselves in what we need to do on the farm, at the farm, and then, you know, once things, you know, get switch back, hopefully next year, then we'll be at a better place to jump off. So, of course, you know, even today we're experiencing some different issues with the COVID and things, but it's been great to be able to just go with the flow and like step up our game in a number of ways, this being one. So thank you guys, because we would have never been able to participate, or we wouldn't have had to participate, but it's awesome that we're now up to speed with 2020 and like being able to use the technology and have access to these things and be invited to these kind of discussions. So thank you.
Thank you. And so for our third question, we're asking, excuse me, what are the farm's goals for the next 10 years?
That's a big question. And I think I can just point to a couple things, and you know, as we've learned this year, you may have a plan, right? But you never know; it could shift. So there is a project in the works for an extension of the farm, which would be over doubling our acreage. So, like I had briefly mentioned, we could be still looking into growing hemp. As another more lucrative cash crop, as opposed to hay. The market for hay is changing. I think as people, especially this year, maybe they can't afford their cattle or their horses or things like that. The market for hay is changing. So we're kind of hoping to adapt and go with the times and find new outlets for that, because it's just, there's no way in any near future, within 10 years, we could plant all that in food, which would be a beautiful thing to have all these people out there, but thousands and thousands of acres just can't be supported with, when we don't use pesticides or herbicides, we're weeding by hand. So the hemp is something. What else is on the long term? I think just always trying to involve more community, involve more people in what we're doing, and again, trying to be able to be sustainable at a point which we can then give back to the nation, the community, the elders here, and like beautifully, it would be wonderful if people didn't have to pay for the food, you know, if it were supported in some other way, because I think it's the farm's general opinion that like, you shouldn't, you know, it's for all, this is for all, this land is for all, the food is for all. So, I mean, that's really long-term, but it's good to keep that as like a thing in the back of your mind. So, yeah, the farm extension project is big. The possibility of hemp is big. I think expanding our catering, they do a lot right now, and hopefully next year we'll be able to do more with that, just expanding that whole department, because I think there's a lot of people who would be interested in that. Just a little expansion of everything, and it would be really beautiful for the food to be able to support the farm and not even have to have a cash crop, right? But yeah, so that's that.
Thank you. The last question from us is, can you explain how the Tohono O'odham reservations work in terms of districts, and do you supply crops to the whole nation?
Sure. So if you can, on your own time, pull up a map. I think you'll be surprised at how big the land area is. I know a lot of people are familiar with other reservations in Arizona, probably more so than the TO Nation. The Navajo Reservation is very large. It's a large area of land, but also the TO Reservation is quite expansive. That people had lived on this side in the United States and across the border in Mexico as well. And so now there are some, of course, boundaries, but within that, just like in the United States, just to kind of compare like an analogy, just like we have different states, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, they have districts. And the farm is in the San Xavier district, which again, if you look at a map, you have the whole nation as one clump, and it's further west and south. But the San Xavier district is kind of sits by itself, a little rectangle close to Tucson. And so that's how it's kind of separated. And there's a number of different districts in the larger, the nation. In different ways at different times, we have supplied to the nation, and it's usually working with other community partners that we have. And again, as things have changed this year, we haven't really been supplying. We worked with one group pretty closely. It was called HOP, H-O-P-P, or the Healthy O'odham Promotion Program. They focus on health, healthy eating, wellness, exercise. So they would oftentimes buy the food to do cooking demonstrations with people and for different events and things. We do supply when we have extra to the Elder Center that is right there in San Xavier. It's nice to be able to do that. So last year we gave a bunch of broccoli to them anytime we have extra. And then the district there does also food box giveaways. So we've donated wheat berries in the box. So we'll bag them up in like 1 or 2 pound bags and give those out to the district. Because we have plenty of wheat berries right now. So it's just different opportunities come up. It's not usually, as far as I know for now, like a steady thing here or there. But like I said, we also worked with the casinos regularly. So they were buying, they would either put on their menu or buy regularly the beans, which is one of the staple foods, the tepary beans. So we would like to always do more, you know, work with the community college there to maybe be on their menu so that the students have access to the foods on a daily basis, or with other schools there. Would be really nice, but in time. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. We're gonna go ahead and start with the questions from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And there is one in particular that's really outstanding. The question is, for the natural grow certification, is an USDA food safety plan required?
Oh, could you say the beginning of the question, or just repeat the question again?
Yeah. For the natural grow certification, is an USDA food safety plan required?
Good question. So I think they're talking about the naturally or certified naturally grown certification, and the answer is the certificate, or is the food safety required? It is not required to my knowledge. However, our food production team is pretty detailed, and we've done quite a bit of work on keeping ourselves and the farm up to standards. So in our cold storage, we have, sinks, and we've looked up the correct sanitizers, and we use gloves on everything. So we try to stick to those standards, but it's not, to my knowledge, a requirement. No one comes and checks. So it's kind of, the certified naturally grown is kind of a, it may like even be a little more stringent in what they require, but as far as standards go, but it's not as rigorous a process to get through, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For our second question that we have from the audience is they're asking how can I volunteer? What task am I given during my time there?
Oh,
I know
sure. Good question. So like I said, the best way, and our contact information will be up soon, is to probably just straight up call us, or you can email. And then we will try to hook you up with whatever it is that would be the best fit for you. So if you enjoy working outside and would like to work in the community garden and help maintain that, that would be different depending on the season. Everything is very seasonal there, so it kind of depends when you come in. So it would be weeding, planting, cleaning up, maybe turning the compost, or in the nursery it would be like potting up little baby plant starch, which is very fun and it just frees your mind. It's very fun. I mean, if you are into a little more field work and learning how to grow the plants, we might be able to find a spot for you out in the field with the food production team on a regular basis, weeding, planting seeds, watching them grow, and learning how the whole process from seed to harvest works. If you just want to peek in the farm, we could also find a use in the office, I'm sure, here and there, or doing a little bit of marketing work. Like I'm the marketing and salesperson. There's always extra things in every department. So I think it's best just to maybe open the conversation and see what you're interested in. The food processing team too, like it can be kind of time consuming. So right now we're, I think, pretty much at the final stages. We just got a new mill built. So it's not in operation yet, but it's basically the construction is completed. So we have to figure out and put the machinery in the right places. But before this mill was built, and probably still for some of the products, if you can wrap your head around it, we do hundreds, sometimes thousands of pounds of grains and beans, and it's usually one person back there sorting it by hand, one by one bean. So there'll be a table of beans, and you have to sort out the pieces of dirt and the pieces of, stick and all these things. So, the food processing, like cleaning, some of the cleaning of the products as well. So it could be a lot of different things.
Great, thank you. We have another question. Is the farm supported or sponsored by the tribe?
No, that's a good question. So we are, okay, it's kind of complicated. So we run as a business, and we are recognized so that we have to be financially sustainable. However, we are recognized as a nonprofit, so we can get grants from different sources. We were getting certain funds from the nation, to my knowledge, up until a certain point to sustain the farm, and they have been cut off, or they will be soon, something. So we're self-sustaining either now or in the very, very near future. Yeah, and our goal for the long term is to be as, like I was saying before, as self-sustainable as possible and not rely on that. So what it was called were 9B funds that we were getting for a moment in time, but that will have come to an end, or has already. It's close, like real soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those questions. Thank you to the audience for asking some amazing questions. And so I'll pass this back to Leslie.
On this slide, we can see like the alternative ways that we can get into touch with the San Xavier Co-op Farm. So you have the social media, their website, and other ways.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. That's just a general number. Call again if you have any other questions. feel free to reach out and just call us or send us a message on Facebook or Instagram. If you haven't been by, we're right off the highway, literally like a half a mile, right before you get to the Mission Church. It's South Oidarquag. And the website, if you want to just Google it and find us, you can get our phone number later, the address later, if anything you need there. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So to start wrapping up, we wanted to give you some time to also share any important dates that the farm has coming up soon. And that I know you've talked about that you guys hold a lot of different events. So if you have any coming up, please share with us.
Sure. Thanks for asking. So if you want a hot lunch tomorrow, we're having chicken soup, and our wheat berries that are grown on the farm are incorporated into that, and a side of fruit. So that is our farm to community giveaway that we do every other Wednesday, starting at 10 in the morning, but for lunch basically. So that's regular until further notice or until something changes. Also, we have food sales. Reliably and regularly, we have one we call the First Friday food sale. So every first Friday of the month, and it's usually a lunch sale, sometimes breakfast. And the menu is always just rotating depending on what we have in season. And you know, now that it's getting colder, it's probably going to be a hot lunch. But those are every first Friday of the month. As far as other events, you'll just have to follow us on Facebook to keep up with that, because we'll have to wait to plan some of the bigger like gathering type of events later. But those are pretty low key, because the one is just a drive through and the other is like a low key food sale. So you just come up and then you take your food to go as well, both of those things. But like I said, you're always welcome to come to the store. I think we're trying to stock up for the holidays so that we have a lot of extra gift type of items for the holidays. So it'll be a good little shopping experience, since we're not able to do a holiday market like we did last year. So it would be a good place to stop for that stuff for now.
Thank you so much. And so to conclude all of this, we thank you so much, Katie, for being here with us today. On behalf of the San Xavier Farm Co-op, we appreciate you spending this time with us, especially I know it was a hectic week for y'all, so I really appreciate it. And so for our participants, we will be sending out a QR code as well as a link. So if you are required to do a post-assessment for us, we do have that required on to be due by November 25th. So I'll pass it now to Dan.
So thank you so much, Katie and the San Xavier Co-op Farm, for presenting to us. This is one of the places that we actually visited last year. We brought about 30 students over here, and that's when we were able to travel, and hopefully we'll get another chance to travel again to these awesome places. And that's what we're going to continue on for the next sessions as well. For tomorrow's session, we're going to talk more about the TO Nation and go in depth with the different foods that are presented over there, as well as doing a food presentation of how to make an actual dish out of these indigenous foods, and talking a little bit about decolonizing your diet within there, and talking to community members that are going to showcase these things. And then Friday, we're going to talk to a colleague that we have at the University of Hawaii, one that leads our Alternative Spring Break Hawaii trip. So a little insight of what we go through over there and what the details are that people don't know about Hawaii. And people usually think it's a tourist destination, but we're gonna go kind of behind the scenes and tell you what the real Hawaii is. It's called Aloha, the intelligence with which we greet the world. So that's gonna be super interesting. And I hope you can learn about it more. So once we do get the chance to travel again, you all can apply for the experience and go with us in the near future. So thank you so much, and look out for these different sessions that are tomorrow and Thursday for this November experience, and then we'll have more information for our December series as well. So thank you so much, and I think Giselle's going to put the QR code for the for the survey that's helped funding these sessions that we're giving to you all. So thank you so much and see you soon, hopefully tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.